What's up guys, welcome back to Historically Gaming. I'm the Fit Historian and today we are exploring the life, death, and execution of Oliver Cromwell. Yes, I purposely put those in that order because we are yet again talking about the posthumous execution of someone. When I chose this topic I had no idea where it was going to lead me to, and let me tell you, it's an adventure. While we talk about Oliver Cromwell, we will also be working on the first part of my massive outdoor storage in Disney Dreamlight Valley. My goal is to turn my entire meadow into storage to hopefully create enough space for the current DLC resources, but also future DLCs as well. Enough rambling about storage though. Go ahead, grab your coffee, a controller, your floofy companion, and let's get started with a look at Oliver Cromwell. The year 2011 marked the 350th anniversary of the execution of Oliver Cromwell, 2.5 years after he died. Born in Huntington on April 25, 1599, his early life wasn't as documented as the military and political portions of his life. Cromwell even noted that he was, quote, by birth a gentleman, living neither in considerable height nor yet in obscurity, unquote. It's not until the English Civil Wars of the 1640s that we start to learn more about Cromwell and his rise to power begins. After his father passed away in June of 1617, Cromwell left Cambridge, where he was attending Sydney Sussex College, without completing a degree. He then returned to the family homestead to support his mother and unmarried sisters. During this time, it is said that Cromwell began studying law at the Lincoln's Inn of Court in London for a brief time, where he had the pleasure of meeting his future wife, Elizabeth. In 1636, Cromwell and his family moved to Ely, following the inheritance of property from his maternal uncle. This inheritance allowed Cromwell to rise in status. Cromwell did become a member of Parliament for Cambridge, but did not significantly dabble in national politics until the 1640s. The summer of 1642 enters the beginning of the English Civil War between Royalists and the Parliamentarians. Royalists were supporters of King Charles I, who was a proponent for the idea that the king should have absolute power. Parliamentarians favored the constitutional monarchy and the abolition of the monarchy and the House of Lords. In other words, they wanted the monarchy and House of Lords gone completely. Cromwell was a very dedicated member of the parliamentary army and quickly rose to the second in command with the title of Lieutenant General of the Eastern Association Army. The Eastern Association Army was the largest and most effective regional army. Cromwell was then promoted to second in command of the new Model Army in 1645. With another Civil War flare-up in 1648, Cromwell's political influence grew. In December of 1648, there was a split between the members of Parliament. One group was in favor of the king, and the other group believed the only way to stop the civil wars was to put King Charles I on trial and execute him. Now, which party do you think Cromwell was a part of? Go ahead, drop your guesses in the comments. I'll give you a second. If you chose the Execute the King group, you would be correct. Cromwell was actually the third out of 59 members of Parliament to sign King Charles I's death warrant. The king was executed in 1649, and the Commonwealth of England was introduced by the Council of State, which became the leading entity instead of the monarchy. Fast forward to December of 1653, Cromwell became Lord Protector. Now what is a Lord Protector? Well, simply put, it's the head of state holding a veto over parliamentary bills and could dissolve Parliament once its guaranteed minimum lifespan had expired, according to the Cromwell Museum. Cromwell was offered the crown, but he rejected the offer. According to Ellen Caslow, who wrote an article on Oliver Cromwell, Cromwell's role as Lord Protector was similar to a monarch in that he was the chief magistrate and the administrator of government. But the Constitution states there needs to be a majority vote from the Council of State if he wanted to call or dissolve the Parliament. To this day, an English monarch is still unable to govern without the consent of Parliament. Cromwell ended up dying after suffering from kidney stones and malaria on September 3, 1658, at the young age of 59. It is believed that his death was quickened by the loss of his daughter Elizabeth, who passed the previous month. Both received an elaborate ceremony and were buried in a vault in Henry VIII's chapel at Westminster Abbey. Cromwell's funeral specifically was based on that of King James I's funeral. Cromwell's son, Richard, succeeded his father as Lord Protector after his father's death. Richard wasn't as politically savvy, though, and lacked the military power that his father had, and was forced to resign in May of 1659, which ended the Protectorate. Since there was no leadership for the Commonwealth, the Parliament was restored, and so was the monarchy in 1660 under Charles II. On January 30th, 1661, Cromwell's body, as well as John Bradshaw, the president of the High Court of Justice for the trial of King Charles I, and Henry Ireton, Cromwell's son-in-law and general in the Parliamentary Army during the English Civil War, were all removed from the Westminster Abbey and were posthumously tried for high treason and executed. Yes, you heard that correctly. They exhumed their already deceased bodies and executed them by hanging. If you watched my previous history video, you might be familiar with the act of executing people even though they are already deceased. If you haven't watched it yet, I'll go ahead and put a card up in the corner for you with the link so you can check it out. In that video, we discussed the Cadaver Synod, which tells the tale of a deceased pope that was exhumed and placed on trial. Crazy, right? Anyway, I highly recommend checking it out. Alright, back to our current story. The date of the execution was to coincide with the execution of Charles I, which occurred 12 years previously. The three men were hanged from the Tyburn gallows in chains and then later beheaded the same day. After the execution, the men were buried in a common grave, all except their heads. Their heads were then displayed on 20-foot spikes at the Westminster Hall. The head spikes remained there until 1685, when a storm came through that was strong enough to break the spikes, causing the heads to fall to the ground. Cromwell's head, specifically, since it fell, has been passed between various private parties, collections, and museum exhibits before being given to his alma mater, Sidney Sussex College, in 1960, where it was properly buried in a secret location on campus grounds. Cromwell continues to provoke reactions in popular culture to this day. He is often brought up in films and television programs. His name was even a code word to warn of a German invasion of Britain in 1940. Winston Churchill even tried to name a British battleship HMS Oliver Cromwell, but as you can guess, the royals did not approve and the name was rejected. Well, that's it for Oliver Cromwell and his posthumous execution. What'd you think? Have you ever heard of Oliver Cromwell? I will admit, I knew of Cromwell, but had no idea about beheading part. It was a trip researching this one, and I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Before you go, if you could please hit the like button for me, and you might as well hit the subscribe button too. Also make sure your notifications are on by ringing the little bell, because you don't want to miss my next history video. Alright guys, I hope you have a historic day. Bye!